Hello out there, and I have a very interesting knife to share with you today, guys. This Harnds knife is one that I'm not exactly sure what it is or where it really came from, or if it is a copy or a clone, if that's what you want to call it, or if it's just a design that was straight out stolen from someone else. I'm not sure, and I'm interested to share this with you today and get your feedback, and maybe someone might be able to shine some light on the situation with some knowledge or just opinion and discussion, which is always welcome as well. But getting into this knife and how I came into it, the Harnds knife is one that I found on Amazon, and it was only like $12 to $15. And I came across it while I was researching new models to pick up for the Budget Blade series. The Budget Blade series is a bunch of videos that I'm doing on current knives, new release knives from the past year or so that are under $30. And I'm just trying to compare them and find what is the best bang for the buck for under 30 bucks. And as I was coming up with this idea, I was trying to find, models or brands that I didn't have too much experience with, trying to think outside the box. I took some of your recommendations, looked up a number of things, looked up Harnds, and I had heard of them from some experience from my buddy Blade Banter, who sent one of them along in the blind knife review, which was that was an adventure of its own. If you haven't checked that out, maybe it's better that you didn't. But anyway, so I had heard of Harnds, but I saw this knife the night, and it was super cheap, and I wanted to see, all right, just how good could a knife under like 15, 20 bucks really be? So I added it to the cart. It came in. Something seemed a little bit odd about it when I saw it. It seemed familiar, but I didn't think too much of it. And then when I got it in front of me and in hand, I knew that it was something I had seen before. I knew that I was holding a Kershaw. It was definitely a Kershaw. Maybe not the blade, maybe a little bit of a different blade. But this pattern on this plastic scale and all of these ridiculous body screws is something that I had definitely seen before. And this clip is definitely a Kershaw clip that was used on more than one model. And so I was confused. Like, what is this knife? Where did it come from? What is going on here? And so I did a little bit of research because, there's a ton of old Kershaw models, and I couldn't remember the name of the knife that this was so similar to, and it ended up being a knife called the Volt 2, actually. And if you're wondering what's all the junk in the top of the screen, well, this is a disassembled Volt 2, and you can see right here, it is essentially the same. And I went on eBay to find this one just to have a comparison, and there was actually someone selling two of them for dirt cheap, and so here's another one. And take a look. Pretty eerily similar, huh? And that's what another person, I continue to do some research. I found a guy named High Low who used to make knife videos, and he had come across this himself a few years ago and had talked about it. And yeah, this Harnds knife ended up being a knife that's been out for a while, so it was already going to be eliminated from the Budget Blade series since it's something that isn't really quite current. But it just became even more fascinating that, maybe it's not current, but it is definitely a different story that we're going to tell with this knife. And so, yeah, I couldn't figure out, is this something that Kershaw had licensed? Is this something that was just a copy? We've seen things from companies like Sanrenmu and Ganzo where designs are just generally copied, and that's one thing. Ganzo has done it a lot where they copy the axis lock before the axis lock patent was free, and they copy like the shape of a design, and a knife feels and looks like a certain design, but it's not exactly the same. Here's a situation where it is almost exactly the same. And when I got this knife, these two next to each other, I disassembled this first Volt 2, and I also disassembled the Harnds, and I was going to try to see, well, could I interchange the scales? Is it that precisely the same? And I thought, yeah, maybe I could. But then I realized, well, the Volts, they're assisted opening. So we've got speed safe on these bad boys. The Harnds is a manual. So there's going to be, a torsion bar right inside here between the plastic scale and the liner. And so the inside of that hollow cavity is going to be really different on this since it doesn't have that, right? Wrong. This knife, the Harnds, has that cutout. So it is designed to have a torsion bar and to actuate just like the Volt 2. So that tells me, in my opinion, that this scale came from the same factory, the same people who made the Volt 2 definitely made the Harnds. That's my opinion. Maybe it's something where it got copied and maybe that mold got copied, but I mean, it is so precisely the same that it doesn't seem to me that it could be any other way. There are ways where it's different. You can see liner lock here, but from above you can see the main differences in the design is that the stop pin for the Harnds is further back, and so you have your jimping starting further back, and the blade starts further back as well. So I mean, just a little bit of a distinction there. You know, when you're opening with a flipper on the Kershaw, you know, you have a limited way that blade can be shaped, a little bit more freedom to change things up with the blade. And when we're looking at them, I'll be completely honest, as far as blade shape and the knife overall goes, I do prefer the Harnds. I mean, if all things were equal, I like the way this blade is almost like a spear point, and then it has this this really cool little hollow grind here. The steel's essentially the same, 8CR14. I think the Volt was 8CR13. And yeah, I definitely prefer the Harnds in that department. But I mean, if it's not going to be a legitimate, its own creative design, then it's very hard to really put stock in it. You know, I do like the manual action. The manual action is good, even though the washers are just oddly sized and they're plastic, but it works. And for $15, I mean, this would have been a very positive review, I think. But as it is, we've got a knife that, honestly, I don't think I've ever really seen anything like this before. In that you have something that is not just similar, it is precisely the same. And it has a different name on it, and enough of a fluctuation on one part of the knife to sort of give it its own identity in a way. But I don't know if this is theft, if this is just a copy. I don't know how to consider this knife. I even sent Kershaw an email saying, hey, is this something that you guys licensed out? Because it's so just bold in the theft of it that it seems to me to be like hard to believe that it is theft, if that makes sense. At this point, you know, I don't know where you draw the line. Everybody is a little bit different when it comes to stuff like that. When it comes to counterfeits and fakes, for me, I have a specific thing that I'm looking for, and the things from the past, like the Ganzos, I'm a lot more flexible with than maybe I even was at one point. But stuff like this, where it's just a blatant kind of, I don't know, it's almost like a slap in the face. Like it's like a screw you almost. I don't really know how to feel about it. I don't like it. I think that, you know, it could have very easily just been given a different texture when you're talking about the molding. Like, why is it necessary to make it that precisely, you know, the same? And if the texture on this this plastic scale had been different, then even though you have the same amount of dumb body screws here, I don't think that anyone really would have paid too much attention to the fact that, like, the handle shapes are the same. Because how many different handle shapes are you going to have on a knife this size? It would have had its own identity instead of being something that, to me, is a ripoff. So, I don't know, guys. Let me know your thoughts. I'm really curious, you know, because this is, it has enough good things going on where it's a knife where I'd really like to be able to enjoy it, even though it does feel somewhat cheap. I mean, it does provide, I think, a good amount of value for $15, but it's hard to endorse it when it seems like it could just be theft. So any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, let me know down below, guys. If you have any information about this knife or the Harnds company, I don't know how to get in touch with them. So yeah, shoot me an email or a comment down below, and we will definitely get going back and forth in that discussion. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'll talk with you soon, guys.